Right, let's have a look at some of the latest numbers out from ValueStrat. We're trying to figure out where we are in, well, two cycles, really. Number one in the price cycle, or the value cycle, and number two, where we are on the supply and demand curve at the moment for property. The man who's in charge of the numbers is in the studio. He's sitting in front of me, the director and head of real estate research at ValueStrat, Haida Tuaima. It's lovely to see you.
Good morning.
Let's actually start first with where we are in this real estate cycle. The latest report to come out from ValueStrat, unsurprisingly, still has values climbing. But it's asking a very interesting question, which is the villa market cooling? Why are you asking that question?
Right. So as we know, we have been through two full cycles so far, and this cycle is highly likely approaching its peak, potentially. And we were actually expecting that peak to be realized last year. And what has happened for last year, as with our latest report, we have seen less supply being actually completed and delivered. At the same time, we have a rising population with the highest growth rate that has been seen in the last 6 years, and was kind of pushed the prices and rents up for last year.
Okay, so when you ask whether or not the villa market is cooling, capital gains slowing in Q4, but not falling, what kind of cooling are we seeing?
So it's cooling in a way that when we used to see 30% annual capital gains, now we're seeing 23% capital gains. So it's not exactly low. It's still in double digits. So it's still very strong.
Okay, so most markets would not consider that to be a cool market at all?
No, not yet.
What does it tell us, though, about where we are in the cycle?
So it tells us that if we have four phases, we're basically on the top phase, which is the upswing stage, where we have record number of transactions, which is very evident right now. We have rents rising. We have oversupply situation, which it seems to be not the case so far. And that's why we're saying potentially. So it's not yet there. We're not yet at the top.
Okay, and there we're talking about villas. When we're talking about apartment valuations, where are we when we look at our 10-year peaks?
Now, for the apartments, compared to the previous peak, apartments, generally speaking, are about 11% below the previous peak. While compared to villas, they're 50% above the previous peak, with all villas doubling in value, and some cases tripling in value. That's not the case with apartments. The only areas that have actually exceeded the previous peaks are Palm Jumeirah, the Greens, and now we have closely followed by Jumeirah Islands and the Burj Khalifa.
Okay. Well, you mentioned supply and demand there, and there were a couple of numbers that really jumped out to me in your latest report. One was where we were for occupancy at the moment, at 88.8%. What kind of pressure does that put on the market?
Okay, so this is, of course, we can't go and measure occupancy for every building. So this is based on a database, about 250,000 residential units in Dubai, and we measure the occupancy. And by occupancy, we simply mean that whether it's been rented or owned, there is somebody occupying this property. This is a pretty high rate. Now, some of the units are also rented as short-term holiday homes, so that's possibly not counted in this case. But definitely Dubai is seeing very high occupancy, and to a stage where the Northern Emirates are now also benefiting from that because people are moving there.
Okay, so that's the demand side of it.
Yes.
On the supply side, the other number that really jumped out at me was a number suggesting that we had seen, and you say preliminary estimates here, that 58% of the projected residential supply, so the stuff that was supposed to be handed over, was delivered last year, the lowest rate in 6 years. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so this is not exactly official statistics, but we do have for the 2023, and based on the numbers that we have, 27,000 units have actually been completed. At least we're estimating now until we get the official stats. This is the lowest number of handovers in the last 6 years, and that's kind of surprising given the population has grown faster during that period.
Is it surprising given the amount of off-plan activity we've got?
With off-plan activity for the fourth quarter has actually gone down a little bit, so we have less launches of off-plan. But we need to remember when there is a launch, it does not necessarily mean the project is immediately under construction. So it requires time for the planning and the design phase. What we're talking about as far as supply is concerned, these are all projects actively under construction. They have been delayed.
Okay, so that actually is my question. Sorry, I put that badly. 58% of a projected supply being delivered feels very low to me.
Yes, and this has been going on for a while now, and there are reasons perhaps why this is happening, and one of the reasons would be higher construction costs, and there are some kind of pressures that developers are facing, contractors are facing. If you ask any project manager, they will tell you, well, it's about costs, it's about time, and it's about quality. So what happens when the costs go up? It kind of delays the project in a way. And in some cases, some of the developers may be a little bit over-optimistic in terms of their delivery times.
Okay. So where are we all going with this? What does this all mean for 2025?
Well, 25 and beyond, we have 150,000 units currently under construction to be completed in the next 3 years. And that's basically about 50,000 a year. And if these are going to be realized, then we're going to have a glut of supply coming in a very short period. And that could force the prices and rents to go down considerably, maybe to single digits. In some areas might stabilize.
Right. Haida Tuaima, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Head of Research at ValueStrat. They are the people who put the numbers together when it comes to how much properties are valued at, rather than necessarily how much they are sold for. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Dubai Eye 103.8.
Join the conversation.